Hello, my name is John Campaneski, and this is my current reality presentation. Um, I'm gonna kind of answer the questions in a order in which I kind of think they should be answered in. Um, gonna start off with, am I excited to go to work today? I am not going to work today. It is Sunday and summer break to boot. But I think the existential question kind of remains of whether I'm excited to go to work as an eighth grade United States history teacher. And the answer to that is yes, I am. But I've definitely been feeling the need lately to try something new. I've been in the classroom for 13 years, and it's just kind of gotten to the point where I want some sort of new spark. And I'm not exactly sure whether that spark is in the classroom or not. Um, thinking about possibly applying for a behavioral interventionist position within my district. But really, I think my current calling is to get into administration. Um, I wear a lot of hats with the Colorado Education Association as well, all volunteer roles, and thought about that as a possible career, but don't think that leaving schools is something I'm really interested in. Um, am I excited to go to work today? Yes, I'm always excited to go to work and be with the kids and learn with them and teach them. But lately, it's been kind of a desire to try something new. So, kind of jump down to what have I done lately to relieve stress and focus on my own mental health to ensure I am an effective teacher. I lost about 50 pounds this year. Started on December 13th, and kind of decided that in order to be the most effective teacher possible, to be the best father possible and best husband possible, and the best me possible, I had to start taking care of myself, and that meant eating healthier, exercising a lot, and that definitely changed my mental outlook on things. I found myself, after I was done dieting, being way more positive. As I was dying, people said I was absolute, hurricane to be around at times, but got it done, and I am where I want to be now, so nobody has to deal with my crazy dieting. But one of the things I believe is, in order to be the best teacher possible, you have to be the best you possible. And in order to be the best you possible, you have to take care of yourself first. One of the other things that I always try to tell myself, and this was actually reinforced at a conference I presented at last week, was that you can't be too hard on yourself, and that personal happiness is not given to you. It has to come from within. And I kind of realized that over the last 6 months, and kind of transforming myself and my body and my mental outlook. But always good to have those kind of reminders. Um, what works and doesn't work in my classroom? Um, Really, I am an energetic storytelling kind of teacher, and almost every single administrator I've had, and there's been about 5 of them, have noted that I use the power of story in my classroom to convey some of the main ideas of United States history, and I think that story is one of those things in backward design that's very powerful. You rivet your audience in the initial, so you can get those long-term goals and kind of objectives that you plan. So what really works in my classroom is story, engaging the students, and kind of bringing their voice and perspective into the lesson. I try to think like a teenager, and I think that's really important in backwards design, as well as thinking like a teenager. That's where the ultimate, I guess you could say, mental stewing is going to take place, and thus I think it's important to kind of have that perspective while you're thinking about things. What doesn't work in my classroom is when I try to do other things aside from the story and the lecture routine. And it's effective. I mean, my data proves that. All my administrators have noted that. I kind of do the lecture and storytelling in such a way that it works, where for a lot of other teachers it doesn't. But they also have all noted that when I try to do something new, it generally does not turn out as well as it could have. So and that's just me, Nosce te ipsum is the Latin phrase for know yourself, and I think that's something really important. But I also think it's also, as I'll mention here in a moment, important professionally to always kind of be willing to try something new and to go in different directions. So what am I most fearful of in my profession? Complacency and good enough. I think a lot of teachers, you know, especially thinking back to when I was in high school, we used to pass our notebooks on from year to year, and if you had that notebook from the previous student, you were getting an A. And I think that's because a lot of teachers never switched the way they taught. They had those lessons that they just taught year after year. And I think that good enough and falling into that kind of rut is something that's very dangerous for an educator. Not to say you can't do it for 1 year if you have a lot of personal stuff going on in life, or, you know, some sort of other challenge or professionally that you're taking on. But really for me, like, that complacency and that good enough attitude, and not trying to expand is dangerous, and can lead to those kind of frictional years where you're not giving it your all, and the students know you're not giving it your all, and thus it can kind of end up causing in your complacency, you actually end up causing more problems than you would if you were just being ingenuitive and kind of trying something new, or at least refreshing what you have done before. So in what areas can I still improve professionally? I have reflected on this a lot, because obviously you want to improve on your weaknesses. And through my roles in the Colorado Education Association, and also through a lot of the other things I've done as educator, I always seem to raise my hand for all these committees and other things, DAC, UIP, 3x3, 1338, school safety committees, etc. As I kind of do all this, I've gained this comprehensive knowledge of the education system in Colorado, which I think kind of puts me above other people. I don't want to say that, like, above other people, but I'll say it gives me a more in-depth knowledge, I would say, than your average educator in Colorado. And so, you know, trying to reflect on where I can improve professionally is going to be my interactions and interpersonal relationships with the adults that surround me. And that's just something I have struggled with my whole life, and obviously as a budding school administrator is something I'm going to have to resolve. I don't seem to have any problem dealing with the kids. It's dealing with the adults that surround me. And one of the things I've tried to do over the last couple of months is try to develop that supportive attitude, you know, when things need to be done. And I've obviously done my diligence in telling people that they need to grow and achieve, and doing that in the right way. But once, you know, push comes to shove, making sure that people recognize that I'm going to be there to support them. I'm going to provide all the tools, that I'm not going to be the kind of administrator that's just going to tell them what to do without providing everything that's needed, you know, and being that supportive person to kind of help them along the way. So, but still, I do not generally get along that well with my fellow adults, especially the ones that don't give it their all, and that I know have all of the skills and talents to be a good teacher, but that they just don't apply themselves, and that can be very hard, you know, to see a classroom where the kids are suffering. And I'm not saying this is the majority of classrooms, but, you know, one bad apple in a bushel can make for a whole lot of bad things. And I feel like one bad classroom in a building can kind of have this domino effect that rolls over into other classrooms, but also can create more challenges for that teacher in terms of growth and achievement. So anyway, those are the 5 questions that I'm going to answer. It was very hard to kind of pick some of these. You know, what choices have I given my students lately? I obviously try to differentiate all my lessons, and what evidence do I have my students are learning. And one of the cool things there is I get to design my own assessments, because we don't have, lucky us, we don't have a state mandated assessment that is given to us, so we get to create our own assessments and run all that data. And so I oftentimes get I think a little bit more in-depth view of the evidence of how my kids are learning. So I'm looking forward to the class, looking forward to learning with you. And if you have any questions on my assignment here, please do not hesitate to give me a shout. So have a nice day.